Very good afternoon, all. We are on the 10th day of our ICSR funded virtual 10 days research methodology workshop. Today is our last day, and we will be having only one session. And after that, we will be having validatory function. I welcome today's resource person, Dr. Manoj Lekhak. Okay. I formally introduce today's resource person, Dr. Manoj Lekhak. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce my own friend, Dr. Manoj. Dr. Manoj is MSc Botany from University of Delhi. He completed his PhD from Shivaji University, Kolhapur. The subject of botany, the topic of floristic studies on herbaceous elements of plateau in southwestern Maharashtra. Currently, he is working as assistant professor in the Department of Botany, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. There is also PhD recognized guide of Shivaji University, Kolhapur, the subject of botany. His area of research interest are systematic bulbous, formatose monocots, Prenum,
मास्टर्स मागच्या वर्षीच काढले ना
Prenum, Ipcadi, Grimia, Iphigenia, and cytotaxonomy of Western Ghat endemics, bulbous, tuberous monocots, Barleria, Lediboria. He has published around 68 research papers in national and international journals like Current Science, The Nucleus, and Q Bulletin, etc. 3 students successfully completed their PhD degree under the able guidance of Dr. Manoj. Presently, he is conducting research on morphotaxonomy and cytogenetics of Barleria acanthaceae, biosynthematics of Lediboria acanthaceae, studies on Eponogeton species in India. He has received awards and rewards from various institutes. Professor M. Sabu Award and Fellow IAAT, Calicut 2014. He has received research grant from many agencies. Establishment of a Young Research Fellowship Program 2018-19, INSA JSPS 2019. Startup Research Grant, Young Scientist, SERB 2014-2017. Extramural Research Grant, CSIR 2015 to 2018. Minor Research Project sanctioned from UGC from 2013 to 2016. He is also a member of Maharashtra State Biodiversity Board from 2013. Sir, the team MNDC welcome you and eagerly waiting to hear from you today. Thank you. Over to you, Manoj sir.
Thank you, Tushar, for such a kind, very good introduction and kind words. I thank you very much. At the outset, let me thank the principal of this college, Professor Eknath Zerekar, and my own friend, Dr. Tushar, for giving me this opportunity to share with you an expertise on a topic which he has given me. So I thank you, Principal Sir and Tushar. And I hope many of you are, already into research, and you are in one way or other related with research activities. So today, the topic which I have been given by Tushar is referencing and research report writing. So let me share the presentation with you, and then we can have in-length discussion on it. Tushar, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes,
Is it visible?
yes, yes.
And I'm quite audible. Can I go ahead?
Proceed, Manoj.
Thank you, Tushar. So the topic which was given to me was like referencing and research report writing. I took the liberty of slightly modifying it, and I took the topic as a writing of research report and referencing. Okay, so it doesn't make much difference, but I think this title, writing of research report, has to be followed by referencing. That is why I did it this way. It can be either way. You can first reference, go for referencing, and then you can go for writing of a research report. So I work in Shivaji University, as Tushar has already told you. So before we go ahead and discuss what exactly is report writing and what do we mean by referencing, let us be very clear and let us try to understand what these terms they mean. So research is one keyword which is there in the title. Then you have something called as report, and the third keyword is referencing. So I just had a glance on these words. I just looked into the dictionary, and I just found out some definitions from the dictionary. And if you see, the first keyword is research. And if you see this Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, research has been defined as a careful study of a subject, especially in order to discover new facts or information about it. So when we say research, that means we are doing some kind of study, some kind of work we are doing, and we are trying to find out something new. Okay, and we are trying to create or trying to find out some new information about that particular work, which is not there. Okay, which has not been done. So you are doing a study, well-planned study, in order to come up with new information. So this is what is a research called. Okay, then moving on to report. What is a report? A report can be a written or a spoken account of an event, especially one that is published or broadcasted. It could be a spoken or written description of something containing information that somebody needs to have, or it can be an official document written by a group of people who have examined a particular situation or a problem. So all these three things that tell you one thing, that it has to be either spoken or it has to be written. It should be in the form of a document. And this document, either it is in the form of an oral presentation or it is written in the hard copy, it has to be presented to somebody. It has to be, it has to be given to some authority for their scrutiny. So it means this report is going to be scrutinized. It is not just for storing purpose. It is going to be read by people. It is going to be carefully scrutinized by people. So report is any document, okay, which has to be scrutinized by the authorities. You are submitting it somewhere based on your activities, based on whatever work you have done, and later on that document has to be scrutinized. Moving on to reference. What is a reference? Reference can be defined as a thing we say or write which mentions somebody or something else. Or reference can also be called as an act of mentioning somebody or something. So whenever we talk and we refer somebody, that this is because of this person, this I could learn because of a particular book or a particular person, we are referring it. That is called as referencing. Now, if you see the second definition that says a note in a book that tells you where a particular piece of information comes from. So this is the most apt definition of reference in this particular topic. It is a note in the book that tells you where a particular piece of information comes from. That means if you are writing a research paper, if you are writing a research report, in that report you have mentioned some reference, and that reference tells the reader that this is the original data from where this information has been taken. So suppose if your report is to be scrutinized by somebody and that person is having any kind of doubt about your information, he would look into the references which you have cited and he would tally them. He will go back and he would see whatever you are saying, is it right or not. So research, report and references, I hope all of you are clear what they do, what do they mean. Now, research can also be defined as systematic investigations into study of a natural phenomena, materials, sources, existing condition of the society in order to identify facts or to get additional information and derive new conclusions. So same thing, it's a careful investigation, planned investigation that tries to study natural phenomena, materials, sources, existing conditions of the society in order to identify facts or get additional information. Any research is a production process. It needs a number of inputs to produce new knowledge and application of new and existing knowledge to generate technology that finally generates economic prosperity of a nation. So research is a productive process. Okay. And a research report or a research paper is a systematic write-up of the findings of the study, including abstract, which is called a summary of the report, introduction, background of the work, why we have done this work, then what were the literatures that were referred, then our results, they are justified, we mention our objectives, we also talk about what are the methods we have undertaken in order to do our research, and finally we talk about discussion and conclusions. And all has to be done following a definite pattern, a kind of pattern you have to follow, a style you have to follow. Please remember that all these things, all this research work or research report, they require some kind of input. They require some kind of already available information based on which you build upon your research work. And another very important thing which all the people who are going to write research report in the future, they should remember that either whenever they are writing a research report or whenever they are writing a research paper, one of the very important thing is they should always try to express. Research report or research paper, they are not there to impress you. Okay, they are there to express your findings in a very true manner. It is not like showing so many things which are not feasible. You have to express. Okay, it is not there to impress. So this is a very important saying, that any research report or any research work should be written in order to express, not to impress. Now, what are the various kinds of report? Reports can be of various kinds. Okay, you can have an informational report. This report provides you some kind of information. The moment the reader or the audience of this informational report looks into that report, it will easily get an idea about what are the events that are being organized, what are the activities that are going to happen, what are the conditions that are going to happen. So this informational report will always provide you with data, information on anything, but it will not analyze that data. It will not come to any conclusion. It will not provide you any kind of guideline or recommendation. So informational report can also be called as a preliminary report. That is for the audience, and what audience gets out of this? Only the information. There is no formal analysis of the information. There is no conclusion drawn from the information which is given. There is no guidelines which is given. There is no recommendation which is given based on this informational report. So informational report, it's all about the presentation of data without telling the audience about its implications. Then comes analytical data. This is very important, and most of us who are associated with research writing or research report writing or research paper writing, we have to make what is called as analytical report. These are reports which are written to solve problems. And whatever data we have gathered as a part of our work, as a part of research report writing, that data needs to be interpreted. That data need to be analyzed. And very important is, based on that data, we draw some conclusions and we give some recommendations. So this is a very important kind of report. And most of the time, many of us who are dealing in research work or are from the field of research, they are preparing this kind of report, which is called as analytical report. A third kind is also there, which is persuasive report. What is it? It is a kind of analytical report where one has to convince the audience regarding certain idea or a product. And most of this kind of report is when you write proposals for funding. So whenever you write research proposals for funding to CSIR, UGC, RJSTC, DBT, DST, you provide an idea. You said, this is the things I want to do. These are the things I want to do. And if I do like this, this will happen. This is how my work is important. You try to convince the scientists or the policymakers in these funding agencies, and you try to convince them that you need a financial assistance and why your work is important. So you are convincing them, you are persuading them. So this is called as persuasive report. So most of the time in a scientific background, when we are doing out and out research work, we are mainly dealing with these kind of reports, analytical and persuasive report. These are technical reports. This one is a non-technical informal report. Is it okay? Now moving on. Tushar? Hello.
Yes, Manoj.
Slides are moving or not?
Moving.
Okay, because I was unable to see them moving. So what are the various components of research report? What makes a research report? So your research report comprises many things. It starts with the title and goes till the references. In between the title and references, you have many components. We have a component that tells us that who are the people who have written this report, or we call them as authors. Then there is something called as summary. I will be dealing with all these individual components one by one. Then how whatever report we have done, whatever work we have done, what was the method, what was the procedure followed, okay, that we mention. We mention the results, what are our findings, and then finally how our findings hold good in the light of previous studies and what implications they have in the future. That comes under discussion. And finally, whatever work we have done, what is the basis for doing it? How did we start? What are the previous works in this field? All this is listed under a head called as references. Now moving on to the title. This is the first component, and let me tell you, this component of a research report or a research paper is of utmost importance. It is of utmost importance. Why? Because merely looking at your title or merely glancing through your title, a reader or an audience will come to know how interesting your work could be or how boring your work could be. If the title is very precise, catchy, people would try to look into the entire report, entire paper. But if the title is very hazy, ambiguous, people will skip it. So title has to be very specific, and this title should be such that the audience or the reader should immediately get an idea that what exactly you have presented in this report, what exactly has been written in this report. Mere title should be able to describe the contents of the paper. At the same time, one has to be very, very clear that this title should not be so technical that the audience will shy away from going into the entire report. it should not be that technical. Please remember, we have to write in order to express, not to impress. So it should be very lucid and very, very generalized. It should not be technical. Otherwise, what happens if I keep speaking entirely on plant names or botany? Many of you people will get bored. And if Tushar speaks about environmental science, core environmental science, I'll get bored. If somebody speaks about his or her subject, the audience, which is coming from different areas, different streams, they will get bored. So title has to be very specific enough so that it can describe the contents of the paper. At the same time, one has to keep in mind that it should not be technical, that only specialist people would be able to understand. Title should be appropriate for the intended audience. You must keep in your mind that who are your readers, who are the readers who are going to read your report, and accordingly the title has to be framed. Title usually describes the subject matter of the article. For example, now see this. There is a title, Effect of Smoking on Academic Performance. Same title can also be written as Students Who Smoke Get Lower Grades. Both the titles are good. But the second title, it is a title as well as result in itself. It tells that students who smoke, they get lower grades. So immediately when this title is read by any public, any audience, any reader, they will come to know that in the paper, the authors have discussed about their studies wherein they have found that students who smoke, they get lower grades. But if you see the first title, Effect of Smoking and Academic Performance. So here, definitely you can make out that smoking and academic performance, they are being correlated, but you are not getting an idea whether smoking increases academic performance or it decreases. You also do not get that what is this group which is being studied. Here it is clearly told that students are the subject. Here you do not know what is the subject. You do not know on whom this kind of studies is being conducted. Is it on teachers? Is it on research scholars or on students? But here it is quite clear that this kind of studies have been conducted on students. Students are the subject. So one has to be very, very clear that the title has to be very, very specific. At the same time, it should be non-technical. Notice that title allows the reader the most succinct summary of the main players in the experiment and character of their relationship to each other. So that is what I was telling you. So if you read this title, you come to know who are the subjects, what kind of experiments might have been carried out, which you do not understand here. And another very important thing is, in this title, you also indicate who is the first author and who is the senior author of this research report or a research paper. Now, many of us, when we write scientific papers, when we write reports, there is always a confusion that who is the first author and who is a senior author. Is the first author also a senior author, or a senior author also a first author, or are they different? What exactly is meant by first author? What exactly is meant by senior author? Does senior author signifies age only? It does not signify anything else. So let us see. So now this is one article. I would be sharing this presentation with Dr. Tushar, and he would be able to share this paper with you. So I have just taken a screenshot of this paper, and this paper appeared in 2010, and this paper was written by this fellow. And here they have discussed authorship related issues. Okay, what should we mean when we say first author? What is the meaning of a first author? Who has to become a senior author? How a researcher can become a senior author? How a researcher can become a first author? So if you see this article, you will find that first author should be that person who contributed most to the work. So first author is the person researcher who has done most of the part of that report, who has written most of the part, conducted most of the works pertaining to that report. The sequence of author should be determined by the relative overall contributions to the manuscripts. So whenever you write any report or a research paper, the sequence that who should be the first author, second author, senior author, it has to be ethically decided by looking into the quantum of work the researchers have done. If the quantum of work has been done by a person is more, that person is given the first authorship. So this is the ethic one should follow when we write research reports and research articles. It is a common practice to have the senior authors appear last, sometime regardless of his or her contribution. The senior author, like all other authors, should meet all the criteria for authorship. So most of the time, if you see, you will find that most of the senior authors are actually the guides under which you are working, under whom you are working. And these are the guides who supervise your work, who would tell you how to troubleshoot your problem. Experiments will be conducted by you. Review literature will be done by you. Paper or report would be written by you. But these people would be, these guides are those people who would fine tune your reports. They will troubleshoot your experiments. They would tell you, do this, then the results would come. So these people are usually called as senior authors. And senior author should play their role, which is of supervising, guiding, and troubleshooting. Okay. It is very unethical if you are making a person senior author and a senior author, and he or she doesn't know what the work is all about, or he or she is not at all involved in that work. So it has to be very, very clear who the senior author should be. Senior author sometimes takes responsibility for writing the paper. Most of the time, you would realize that when you start writing papers or research reports which are very analytical, it becomes difficult for the student or the researcher who has carried out most of the practical part, experimental part. He or she is unable to write the report because a lot of technicalities are involved, and he or she has not got any prior experience of writing reports. So that time also the senior author helps, because young researchers might be lacking the writing skills, okay, skills of scientific writing. Then senior author, okay, then senior, if most of the writing and most of the work has been done by senior author, the senior author can claim the status of corresponding author. Corresponding author is an author that communicates your finding, that communicates your research paper, that communicates your research report, and he or she is responsible for all the things which are written in the paper. Okay, so if any question has to be asked regarding that paper, corresponding author will be contacted. If any reader wants the reprint of that article, and if this reprint is not available free online, the audience or the reader will write to the corresponding author for the reprint. Okay, so sometimes senior authors, if they have contributed immensely and they have supervised the work properly or thoroughly, they would become corresponding author. Okay, sometimes a senior author can become a first author because the student concerned has not done proper work. So usually what happens in scientific arena or scientific field, most of the supervisors in good institutes, scientific institutes, social scientists, what they would do, they would give the student researcher a time limit. They will provide them the outline that this is the work I need from you in a year, or say in 6 months, and you have to bring it. And if he or she is unable to do the work in that stipulated time period, the senior author may become a first author, and he would take most of the credit for writing and doing or communicating that paper. So senior author can become a first author provided the first author has not done his duty well. So first author usually, so the crux of these 5 points is that a first author is the person who has done maximum work, and he's the one who is doing the experimental work, doing a lot of background homework. Senior author is the person who supervises the things, who fine tunes your report, who troubleshoot your experiments. Sometimes when the first author is unable to do the work in a stipulated time period, senior author can become a first author, and most of the time, senior author who is involved in planning the things, troubleshooting the things, is a corresponding author who is responsible for the entire research report you have communicated. Now moving on to abstract. So you have title, okay, you have author issues also explained. Now very important thing, once going through the abstract, once going through the title, the second thing a reader, an audience looks into is your abstract, which you can also call a summary or a gist of whatever has been done in your research report or research paper. Now, what is this abstract? Usually, when you go for any kind of research report writing or research paper writing, they would tell you that your summary of the work, whatever you have done, should be summarized in, say, 200 or 300 words. And there is always a word limit. You cannot go beyond that word limit. So they want you to explain what all you have done in those 200 to 300 words. So abstract should be usually 100 to 300 words. It should summarize the purposes, methods, results, and conclusion of the paper. So in nutshell, you can say abstract is nothing but everything which you have done in a paragraph, having almost 100 to 300 words. So it should include what was the problem, how you addressed it, what are your results, what are their implications. So it is everything. It is introduction, material and methods, results, discussion, and conclusions rolled into one. Okay, so abstract is complete paper, complete report in a very, very precise manner. So whenever you are writing an abstract, you should not include any kind of redundant, repetitive things. You should not include a review of literature or any theoretical background. You have to be very to the point. Abstract have to be to the point. Okay, do not try to give informations that in the past this has been done. No, you have to only talk about what was the background, what was the thing, how you addressed it, what results you got, and how you are interpreting them. It is easiest to write the abstract after the paper itself is written. Okay, now many of you people would one day or other will write reports or will write research papers. So I would like to tell you people that abstract is that part of the research report or that part of the paper, research paper, which has to be written at last. Once you are done with all the report, your reports is complete. That means you have concluded introduction, you have completed material methods, you have completed results, you have discussed your findings, and you have concluded your findings. Once everything is ready, then you need to start writing the abstract. Okay, abstract cannot be written before completing the report or a research paper. If you do that way, your abstract will not have everything that is required. So it is the best way to write the abstract when the research report is completed. Okay, in order to write abstract, a thumb rule is always write introductory sentence, then one sentence per chapter of your report, and a few sentences summarizing your most important conclusions and recommendation. That is why I told you that abstract is introduction, material method, results, and discussion and conclusions rolled into one. Okay, and whenever you are writing abstract, do not use any kind of abbreviations, shortcuts. Do not give any kind of citations, references in the abstract. It is not allowed. It is not recommended. So roughly, it identifies the subject population. What are you working on? It identifies how did you how did you do the work, methods, what were the instruments you used, how you collected the data, finally what results you got, and what is its implication, what inferences and conclusions you are going to draw. So abstract is very important because it is the second thing which any reader will look into once he is impressed by your, or once he has started liking your title. So once the title is there, the second important thing is abstract. Tushar, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
So thank you. So then comes another important component which is called as introduction. Now what is this introduction? Introduction should refer to these things. It should be able to answer, or it should be able to focus on these things. What are these things? What is your research about? Why whatever report you have written, what is its importance? What are the problem? What were the problems you have addressed in that report? What was the way? What were the ways in which you approached that problem or that report or that work? And what one can expect? What results we would be able to expect from your research work or your report? So it should tell you what is the problem, why you started working on this problem, how you started working on that problem, and what results you would be getting, what results you are expecting after doing this kind of report or this kind of research. So it should give an idea about the problem you are working, why you are working on that problem, how you address that problem, and what results you are expected to get after working on that problem. So all this should get an idea. So in nutshell or in brief, you can say introduction will give an idea to the audience that why or what topic you have chosen, why you have chosen it, and what we should expect from you, or what results we should expect from you. So this is very important. If you do not tell the readers what is the problem, why you are addressing this problem, and how do you see this problem getting solved, what conclusions, what results you are going to get, reader will not further go deep into your article or report. You should be clearly telling the reader, this is the problem, that is how I have approached, and this is what I am expecting. Tell the reader what the problem is, what question you will try to answer, and why it is important. So whether whatever report you are writing is important or not important, that is a different thing. But you need to convince the reader that this is important. So that is what we do when we do persuasive research report writing. When you write proposals, okay, every proposal, research proposal which goes to different agency tries to convince the funding agencies, but only few gets selected because those are able to convince the policy makers that this is important. So introduction should be able to convince the reader that yes, the problem you are addressing is a genuine, it needs to be handled, and the way in which you have handled is the best way it has to be handled. Okay, so it might be important for practical reasons or for theoretical reasons having to do with the development of a scholarly discipline, doesn't matter. You need to convince your audience whether it is practically reasonable or it is theoretically reasonable. You need to convince your readers that the problem was important and the method you have utilized is the best one, and the results which you are expecting is definitely going to address the problem. Introduction should lead to, and it should conclude with a statement of how you intend to approach your question and why your approach is an improvement on past efforts. So that you should be able to tell the people that this is the problem and I'm going to utilize this method. In the past, this method has not been used, or if it has been used, how I would use it in a different manner. And why this research report writing, research paper writing or report writing is important. You need to convince the audience. Okay. So introduction is all about what is the problem, how you are going to address it, and what results you are going to expect. You have to convince the audience. Then only people will get deeper into your report. Now, this is one of the most, what should I say, most carefully written component of the research report or research article, and one of the most easiest component of the research report or research article to write. So all of you, those are young students or young research scholars, whenever you prepare any research report or any research article, this is the first component that needs to be written, because for this section you do not require any input from introduction component, you do not require any input from result component, you do not require any input from discussion component. So it is an independent component, and this is very important because this is the component that tells whether whatever results you have achieved, whatever findings you have made, whether they are repeatable, reproducible or not, or whether you have followed a standard protocol, standard methodology or not. So this is a very important component, and it has to be written first because it is independent from any other components, and these method section is usually written in the past because all these things you have already done. So it is you always written in the past tense. It is just like a cookbook. What is a cookbook? A cookbook has got a recipe of all the cuisines. So if you see that cookbook and you take all the ingredients in a proper proportion, follow the same protocol, you are going to get that recipe in the best possible manner. So similarly, methods are like a cookbook. Whatever methods you are writing, you should always understand that these methods are going to be followed by future researchers. So if there is a flaw in your methodology, that means those people who are referring to your work, those people who are following your work, they are going to err, they are going to make mistakes. So this has to be written in a very, very proper manner. Everything has to be written the way it was done. If you are not detailing your procedure, your followers will commit mistakes. So methods, they are always written in the past tense. They are like a cookbook section of the paper. They should be complete, detailed, and clear enough. Complete, you should give each and every minute detail also, and they should be clear enough. There should not be an iota of doubt in the method section. Once the reader goes through it, he or she should be able to understand that this is the method I have to follow. If the reader is getting some kind of doubt or ambiguity after reading your method, that means there is some kind of problem with your methodology. For example, you have to mention who are the people you are working on, what is the subject, what are the plants you are working on. Suppose you are working on you are a social scientist, you are working on humans. Okay, who are the subjects? What was their age? Which gender you studied? Did you take people from a particular society, community, or a particular area? All these things you need to mention. How many individuals did you consider? 100, 500, 600, 10, 12? Okay. For how many individuals your data, your findings are responsible? Your findings are based on how many individuals? Then how many subjects you selected and how you selected them? What was the method? Did you select them randomly or there was a selection bias? For example, I'm just giving you an hypothetical example. For example, you want to study you want to find out the obesity percentage in humans of a particular area during the time period, say 2015 to 2020. And most of the time, you have taken the subjects which you have chosen, they are children ranging in age from 5 to 10. You have not taken adults, you have not taken youths, you have only taken children. So what will happen? This is not a random sampling. Most of the time, obesity will not be there in children. So your result will say that obesity is quite less. So your result is biased, right? So one has to be very clear that what are the study group they are taking, what is the age of that study group, what is the gender of that group, how many such peoples we are going to select, and how we are going to select them. What is the method? Is it a bias sampling or is it a random sampling? Then what apparatus, particularly this becomes very, very important when we do scientific work, because we utilize some kind of machinery. If we have to find out something, we use some sophisticated machines, instruments. So we need to mention what kind of machine you worked on, because it is very important on which machine you work. For example, suppose you are a social scientist and you made some documentary on some area. So you need to specify documentary was made following which video camera. Okay, you are a student of photography. You need to tell which camera you worked on, what were the lenses you used, what make was the camera that was used for photographing. So apparatus needs to be told. Then what was the protocol? What was the method you followed? What was the procedure you followed? So then only people would be able to follow, replicate what you have done. Then only it becomes a cookbook when everything is detailed. So methods are very important. Okay, and methods are written in the past tense, and this is first component of the research report that needs to be completed. But at the same time, this should be written very properly and should be complete, detailed, and quite clear. Then comes results. This is, I would say, this is the second component which you should write when you are writing a research report or a research article. And results, like your methods, are always written in past tense. Okay, they are written in the past tense. And since results are also independent of discussion and introduction, you can write them anytime. You can write them after methods, or you can write them before methods also. Okay, so what results do? They summarizes the data and the statistical treatment of them. Okay, whatever data you got, whether that data is statistically significant or not, that you try to understand. And most of the data, it has to be shown in the form of a table or in the form of a figure, because if you start mentioning the data whose volume is huge depending upon the kind of work you have done, if you keep writing it in the text, it would go very difficult for a person to understand that. So if your report has to be scrutinized, and that too, it has to be scrutinized by people who want to see it in a proper manner, you will have to provide tables and figures. Because when you provide data in the forms of tables and figures, it becomes easy to understand. Results, they summarize the main idea of our findings and they report them whether or not our hypotheses have been confirmed or not. Whether you have got the results that are expected or you have got the results that were unexpected, it do not matter. Whether you have got expected results or unexpected results, it really does not matter. What matters is to summarize your results. Okay, whether the results were expected or unexpected, doesn't matter. You have to summarize them. And result section is the section where you should avoid concluding the results you have got, where you should avoid drawing conclusions from your results or data. Result section simply means that you are going to, result section simply means that you are going, what are the results you have got? They could be positive results that you could have expected, or they could be results which are negative in the sense that you did not foresee them, you did not expect them, but they have come. So result section again can be written immediately after abstract, okay, immediately after methods, and it is always written in the past tense. It is independent of discussion and introduction. You should use tables and figures, and you should use statistical means to prove the significance of your results, and you should not draw any kind of conclusions from your result. Now, tables, very important component. Tables and figures, they are very important component of results. Most of the time, results, you can say, cannot be completed, or results cannot be written if you do not have corresponding tables and figures. How one should prepare the tables? What care one should take when he or she is preparing a table? Tables are economical in that they compress data and allow the reader to see relationship not otherwise determined at a glance. So a table should be easy for the reader to read, and after seeing the table, he or she should be able to find out, he or she should be able to understand the relationship between various components of your research report or research paper. Okay, a good table should not be duplicate of the text of the results. So suppose if you return the same thing in the text and same thing you are showing in the table, this makes your writing redundant. The data which you have presented in the table should not come in the text. Otherwise, it becomes repetitive, redundant, and that has to be avoided. And please remember one thing, this I should have told you in the beginning, but better late than never, that whenever we write any research report, whenever we write any research article, pages are a constraint. There are word limits, there are page limits. So one has to be to the point. You cannot write redundant sentences. You cannot write redundant methods. Nothing has to be repeated. One has to be very precise and to the point. A good table should always be self-explanatory. Tables which are given under the result should also be numbered and should be cited in the text. Every table is given a brief title written in a telegraphic style. Okay, title of the table has to be very, very precise. Notes of subheadings are employed to explain abbreviations, parentheses, or units of measurement. If you have used some brackets, if you have used some superscripts, subscripts, if you have used some symbols, they need to be expanded. Now I will show you some of the tables that got published as a part of our research paper. Believe you me, this is not to show that these are the best tables. This is just because since I am a man of plants, this table which I am showing you, it is plant related, and the data is plant related. You need not to go into the details of the data, but you should be able to understand the conditions which I have kept for making table. It should be self-explanatory. It should not be it should not duplicate the text, and every table should have a title. It should explain the abbreviations, parentheses, and units of measurement. Now see this table, table 1. So it is numbered. It is given a small title. Okay, is it okay? Then now see what are the parameters. You need not to think a lot on these parameters. They are actually useless. Okay, so you need not to bother about it. They are useless. Don't bother about it. Just see the parameters which one has to keep in mind when they are preparing a table. Now, so this is a table. It has been numbered and it has been given a short title. Now see, whatever parentheses it has been used, whatever units have been used, all they are written. For example, see, this is plus minus 010 E. So you can see plus minus SE is a standard error. This is a mean. Okay, how many samples we took? We took 3 replicates. Okay, then we have also shown statistically significant data is there. All the superscripts, they have been explained. See, all these letters, means denoted by different letters are significantly different at P less than equal to 0.05%. So somewhere there is ND. What is this ND? Non-defined. So a table should be having a small title. It should be numbered. it should be self-explanatory. It should be able to tell the reader what all abbreviations have been used. Is it clear? Now, what is LY? We have already told. What is GAL? We have already told. So once the reader sees the title of the table, and if he or she looks into the table, he is going to get everything. So this is how a table should be. Self-explanatory with a title, it has to be numbered, and all the abbreviation need to be explained. Now, similarly, figure is also a part and parcel of your report or a result section. It is a part and parcel of your report section. So it is very important component of report and very important for result section. Most of the data, if we show in the form of the table or figure, it is easy to understand. So figures have to be made keeping in mind the same thing which we do for tables. Figures should follow the same rules or same parameters which we have followed for tables. Figures could be in the form of the graph. They can be in the form of charts, illustrations, pie chart, bar graphs, histograms, line graphs, scattered diagrams, whatever. Okay. Caption is always placed below the figure. Okay. You can place the title below the figure. Remember to place the dependent variable on the vertical axis. So on the y-axis, we have a variable that is always varying, and on the x-axis, we have an independent variable. Both the axes, they are labeled. Title is given. So this is actually a figure that shows the school supplies versus the use of students. So school supplies pencil, scale, pen, sharpener, etc. So this is the number of supplies on the variable axis. This is the variable parameter, dependable parameter, and this is non-dependent parameter. So figures should have a caption, they should have a title, they should have all the axes indicated, okay, and they should be clearly showing the results. So whatever is applicable to tables applies to figures as well. Now moving on to one of the most technical sections when we write our research report or a thesis or a manuscript, and this is one of the section which troubles lots of youngsters, lots of research scholars who are writing the thesis or a research report, or for that matter writing a manuscript. Now discussion is something which is what I would say is the heart of your paper, okay, or your report, that tells the reader or that tells the person who is scrutinizing your report or manuscript or a research article that how much depth you have in that area, how much well read you are in that area, how much expertise lies with you in that particular area. So discussion is very important. Most of the time, students, scholars, they get confused between results and discussion. Results is telling all about your findings without discussing or without interpreting their implications, without drawing any conclusions. Okay. In discussion, most of the time, it has been seen that most of the people start discussion with a little background of summary of results. Okay, but that does not mean that you are going to repeat each and everything which is there in the result. That will make your writing redundant, repetitive. So one has to slightly take some portion of the results so that the reader becomes aware that what were the results. It is very important for the reader to find a flow in your report. If there is no flow, there is no continuity in your report, people will not enjoy reading it. They would throw it into the trash. Okay, so if you want to avoid your report getting thrown into a trash, you should write a discussion which gives you some little background of results, because it benefits the reader. Okay, or maybe suppose he just want to skip the results, because this result has got many tables, many figures, and the reader is not interested in it. He just wants to see the crux. He just wants to go to the crux, and then just wants to go deep into the discussion. He would get to know. So discussion, they can start with a summary of results, okay, for the benefit of the reader, and
Hello, Manoj sir.
to make them suited to the results we have got in the past. It doesn't matter whether your results.
Manoj sir,
Yes,
your
yes.
presentation cannot be seen.
From which slide can you tell me?
Current slide.
Discussion you cannot
Yeah.
see.
No, discussion only. Yeah.
You could see the figures.
So your video we can see, but I think you have to share the screen again.
I did once again. I will share, but let me know from which slide you could not see, so that I can.
Discussion only.
Figures you could see, right?
Yes.
So is it visible now? Is it discussion is visible now?
Yes.
So this one is better, or shall I make it a full screen?
Make it full screen.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes.
So I was telling you that many of us, we are hell bent upon manipulating our data to suit it to the data that has been obtained, that have been obtained in the past for similar studies. Please avoid that. Even if your results are different from similar studies that have been done in the past, as long as you are able to explain them, it is well and good. So attempt to resolve and deal with these differences by suggesting reasons for why your results are different. Okay, so this is very important. Most of the students, most of the scholars, they would get afraid that we adopted the same methodology, we followed the same protocol, but our results are coming different. Doesn't matter. You need to figure out, you need to justify why your results came different. As long as you are able to do it, you need not to manipulate your data. Another very important thing that we do in discussion is we provide some guideline for future research. We provide some clue, some indication that this kind of studies can be done in the future. We suggest ideas for future experiments in this area. Okay, so this is also very important. You discuss your findings in relation to the past work, and you also provide the audience with a future idea how the present study can contribute more, how by changing the methodology we can get better results. Okay, so all these things you need to mention. It is nice to put a short summary paragraph of the conclusion or interpretation at the very end to help the reader remember your general conclusions. So sometimes if you see some reports and some research papers, discussion and conclusions, they are written together. So they are one and the same thing. Discussion can also include a last paragraph on conclusions, or sometimes if we write only discussion, in the end paragraph you can conclude what is the findings. So discussion and conclusion, sometimes these components, they are used interchangeably. So the discussion section will show you graphs of the inductive and deductive thinking routines involved in the experimental work. So I was telling you that discussion will tell the reviewer, the one who is scrutinizing your report or a paper, that how much grip you have on this particular area, how much well-read you are about this work. So that is why it is very important. It tells how much grasp you have and how much your grasp is of inductive and deductive thinking. So all of you know what is inductive thinking and what is deductive thinking. Inductive thinking is you start with observations, analyze it, and you go for the theory. Okay. And deduction is you get an idea, you experiment it, and then you conclude. So discussion is to tell the reviewer that how clear your inductive and deductive thinking is. Now, one of the very, very important component of any research report or any research article, manuscript, is references. We will be talking about references, but it is also a part of any research report. References are very, very similar in their importance to methods, because methods allow you to replicate what you have done. It allows others to replicate what you have done. References allows others to read what you have already read. Okay, so in that sense, references need to be complete and they should not be misleading. They should not be misleading, because if references are complete and not misleading, then only the person who is trying to work in your area or trying to replicate the experiments or work which you have done, then only he or she could be able to do it. If the references are misleading, incorrect, incomplete, he or she will not be able to replicate your experiment or your work. References, this is the last section, and it should conform to a particular style. So when you write a research report, depending upon which funding agency you are writing, depending upon which what are the guidelines of the report writing, you have to follow a pattern. There has to be a pattern. You cannot write references haphazardly. Okay, a reference list cites work that are publicly available. Work cited in the text of your experiment or your research report, they must come under reference section. So in methodology, if you have quoted somebody, if you have cited somebody, that needs to come under references. Because if I want to replicate your experiment or your work, I need to know the complete reference. Each entry in the reference list must be cited in your text. Reference lists are intended for the use of a reader, and that is why they have to be absolutely accurate and complete. So this is one screenshot. You can see, you need not to go into the title of the papers. Now see, everything is showing a pattern. You have author names. Okay, so you have surname followed by initial. There is no comma between the surname and initials. They are not given any kind of space bar or dot or a period. So everywhere same thing has been followed. Where there are more than 3 authors, ital has been written. Now, after the journal title, years have been given. After the journal titles, years have been given. Then the issue, volume number. Then the page number. Page numbers, they are separated by a M dash. So everywhere it is an M dash. Okay. Every time there is a DOI, digital object identifier. Okay. For online link of that paper. Everywhere, wherever it is available, it is given. So things are followed. Is it okay? So there is a pattern one has to follow. So first author names, then the title of the paper, then the journal, then the year of publication of the journal, its volume number, its page number. Everywhere same thing has been followed. So reference, they have to be written in a definite pattern, and that pattern is decided by the authority to which you are submitting your report, or the journal to which you are submitting your research article. Now, suggestions for writing report. So we will just summarize what we have done. Must use technically correct English. We should use most of the communications, we do in English. Most of the reports, they are written in English, so they should be technically correct, error free. Grammar has to be appropriate. We should give appropriate citations. Properly method should be mentioned. And report writing or paper writing, it should be done immediately after your work is over. That is why students are told by any supervisor, the moment you finish a set of particular experiments, write its report, write its results, write its method. Because if you keep on delaying it, if it keeps lingering, you will forget. You will forget the methods. There are chances that you may come up with errors in your result. So every time when the research work or research report work is over, immediately you should start for writing. The more you delay, higher will be the mistakes in your report writing and research paper writing. Okay, so you are bound to forget many things. Then what is the general advice? Do not use words just because they sound academic. Okay, so try to use simple English. Do not use words which are very pompous. Okay, purpose is to express, not to impress. This is very important. Whatever sentences you write, reader could be able to parse the sentences. He or she should be able to understand your sentences without going into too much details of your paper or report. They should be able to understand it. Okay, the syntax should help the reader figure out the meaning. Okay, the reader should not need the meaning to decipher the syntax. So syntax should help the reader. The sentence makeup should be such that the reader should be able to easily understand that. When read, pay attention to different ways that people indicate the relationship of their work to the truth. Such as the words we use, for example, indicate, demonstrate, prove, test, hypothesize, etc. We have to use them very carefully. Otherwise, they give a different meaning. So you have to be very, very specific in terms of using certain words. Okay, what are the hallmarks of good scientific writings? The first sentence of each section and the first sentences of each paragraph, they are the most important ones. Okay, so first section of introduction, it gives you the outline why you are working, and the last paragraph tells you how you are approaching this problem and what are the results expected. Do not squander the opportunity to write forcefully by beginning with secondary points and caveats. You should not beat around the bush. You should always start to the point. Big words and long sentences should be avoided. Many readers are very busy and many readers are lazy. So if your report is full of repetition, full of unwanted text, people will not go into the detail. One of the very good suggestion or very good practical advice for all people who are writing anything scientific or anything logical, they should not use big sentences. If the sentences are becoming too bulky, break them into two. So whenever you find a long sentence, you need to break it into two. Omit words and ideas that the reader already knows. Do not repeat things. Do not waste time and space of the manuscript or the report in writing those things which are general, which are known to readers already. Rather than writing in passive voice, it is always better to write in active voice. For example, plants were given water. I gave water to plants. That has to be written. We watered the plants. Rather than plants were watered by us, you should write we watered the plants. So it is always better to write in active voice. Never ever cite the references in the middle of the sentence. Better to write these citations at the end of the sentences. Write accurately. For example, you see this sentence. The rats were injected with the drug. This is a passive sentence. You write it in active voice. I injected the drug into the rat. Okay, similarly, you should avoid using words which are very pompous and which are very, very double meaning, or which may give, which may make the reader feel a bit uneasy. For example, instead of using possess, you can use a better word which is called as had. Sufficient can be replaced by enough. Utilize can be simply replaced with use. Instead of using prior to, you can go for before. The vast majority of can be summarized as most. We have to, as I told you, there are space constraints, there are word constraints when we write a report or a research article. So one has to use the words very, very judiciously. Okay. So this is, you have to use short sentences. This is the key. Then one must also check grammar, spelling and punctuation. This is very important. Grammar and spelling and punctuations, they are very important. Unfortunately, the new generation, do not know the difference between a colon and a semicolon, a period and a comma, a question mark and an exclamatory mark. So all of these things have to be used appropriately. So in order to go for a spell checking, you can use some online software, spell checker. Better, you can have a dictionary. Okay, you can have a software like most of people nowadays you use Grammarly for improving their grammar. Okay, they use many grammar books also for avoiding all these things. So you should check your grammar, spelling and punctuation. This is very important. And finally, once you have completed your research report, it is very, very important that before submitting it to the authorities or the reviewer, you must see to it that your report is not having plagiarism, is not falling under what is called as plagiarism. What is plagiarism? According to Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, plagiarism is an act of plagiarizing something. And what is plagiarizing? It is to copy another person's ideas, words, or work and pretend that they are your own. So this is a very dangerous phenomenon. One should avoid it. In the field of research, report writing, or research, or scientific writing, logical writing, one should avoid it. There are various kinds of plagiarisms: complete plagiarism, source-based plagiarism, direct plagiarism, accidental plagiarism, inaccurate authorships. I will not go into the details of it. You can go to the link and you can see. So one should avoid copying another person's ideas, words. In academics, plagiarism is very bad, because if something is plagiarized, you cannot assess their ability. If you have given an assignment to your students and they have plagiarized the things and you do not know about that plagiarism, you would be assessing your students in a wrong manner. So one cannot assess students, scholars, faculty members accurately. The person who makes his or her livelihood by scholarly pursuit is being robbed of the credit. So suppose if something is yours and I am pretending that this is mine, I am robbing you of your credit. So the genuine person will get, troubled. That person will be at disadvantage. It also makes the lineage of ideas. It also masks or hides the lineage of ideas and facts. So plagiarism is to academics as Enron accounting is to corporate America. So Enron accounting is a very well-known fraud which this Enron company in America they did. They were undergoing a lot of financial crunches, but they would, by using false methods, they would always show that their accounts are very good They are always having benefit. Later on, when this fraud was, uh, I mean, uh, uncovered, it was found that this company is running in lots of debt, and finally it got bankrupt. So plagiarism is like that only. Unless and until somebody is knowing that this has been copied, they would always be very happy that, yes, you are so great, you have done this work. The moment they come to know that you have taken this from somewhere else, nobody will entertain you. So plagiarism is to academics as Enron accounting is to corporate America. Then original sources of research are all the proof we have for some facts, and without the paper trail of academic thought, people could pass incorrect ideas of as fact. So if you are not doing proper referencing, and if you are doing plagiarism, you cannot pass good ideas. You will be passing incorrect ideas. Every time you have to prove things, you will have the context that generated facts and ideas get lost. So anybody who is doing plagiarism will not produce facts and ideas. Anybody who is into plagiarism, his or her research becomes highly inefficient, as it becomes incredibly difficult to find full information on that topic. So that is the reason why this plagiarism has to be avoided in all means. What can you do in order to avoid this plagiarism? Document every source from where you have taken the information. Cite every time the fact or idea which you have taken from somewhere. If you quote material, put quotation marks. If you are producing the sentences as it is, verbatim, you put them under inverted commas so that people will know that this has been taken from this book, this has been taken from this author. Sometimes, if you want to cite somebody's sentences in your own language, that is also good, but you should always give the reference. So you can always paraphrase, and you can cite the person whose idea or whose sentence you have paraphrased. Whenever you have any kind of doubt, whenever you do not know from where this sentence might have come, who is the original author, or whenever you are not sure that this is yours, try to cite the source from where it has been taken. So why is correct referencing important? It is for academic reasons. It is a requirement for your department, school. It avoids plagiarism. It puts your work in the context. It provides supporting evidence for facts, opinions, information, approaches taken. It gives your work academic credibility, and it avoids plagiarism. For practical reasons, if you are giving good references, people can replicate your work. Okay, they can follow your work, help you retrace your reading in the future. Suppose you again want to work on your topic with a new idea, you can go back to your article report, and if you have written correct references, you can again trace the old literature. Poor information sources and poor referencing loses marks. So referencing is very important. Now, in order to avoid plagiarism, there are various softwares which are available. I will not go into the details. Viper is there, plagiarism is there, Plag Tracker is there, anti-plagiarism is there, Dupli Checker is there, C sources is there. In Urkund, and in most of the universities, this is Urkund is being used. So one of the problems with these Authenticate, Urkund, and Turnitin, that most of them are paid. So it is very difficult for you to have them with you. But I think most of the libraries in your colleges are having Urkund. You can submit the doc file, or the PDF of your report or research article, and they can get it screened for your this thing, plagiarism. Tushar, I just wanted to know how much time we have.
25 minutes.
So I'll just finish. I would just show them how this Orkund report looks like. Just a minute. I just want to show them how this Orkund. I need to share once again my PPT or what?
Yes, share again.
I do not know actually. I'm not used to this. How to, just a minute, just give me a minute. I'll finish well in time, so that won't be a problem. I do not know why I'm not able to. Stop share. Let me just share. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes,
So this is one manuscript. Is it visible now?
yes.
So I just want to show you how it looks. So see, this has been checked through Urkund for plagiarism, and this is how it shows. Now, ultimately, when you go at the last, so it would tell you, it will tell you that 22% similarity index, and it will tell you the sources from where you have copied. Okay, so this gives you a chance. This gives you a chance to paraphrase, and this gives you a chance to improve your content. So these softwares are really very good. These softwares are really very good, and it is, I mean, very easy nowadays to avoid plagiarism. Is it visible, Tushar?
Yes, yes.
So what are references? The second part was referencing. So what are references? So citation, they appear in the text. Reference appear at the end of your essay or chapter. Reference list is a list at the end of the chapter. And bibliography is a list at the end of your essay, which gives the full details of all resources which you have read, even if they are not referred to within the text. So whenever you are quoting directly from the another source, you should cite it. Whenever you are mentioning a fact that is commonly known, you need not to cite. Whenever you are presenting a result of your own survey, you need, or experiment, you need not to cite. You are writing about another researcher's theory, you need to cite that researcher. If you are using any image, you should give the source, you should cite it. You are using facts and figures from other writer, you should cite it. You use a diagram from a book, yes, you should cite that book. You include some statistics that your lecture has given, you in a lecture, yes, you should cite it. Then there are different ways in which you can cite the references in the text as well as in reference under the heading references. So one style is called as Harvard, another is called as numeric. In Harvard style, in the text, you will cite it like this: surname, comma, and the year. There is no initial. And in the references, you will write like this: author name followed by year of publication, title to be italicized, and the name of the publisher. Numeric style mein you have to number them. In the text, you will give a number 1, and corresponding to this number 1, you will cite it like this: first the author name, which is followed by the title in italics, press name, and then the year. In text, to cite a source that you have read in another source, Harvard method is like this. Numerical is like this. Okay. In text, if you are citing items for the same author in the same year, you should distinguish them by adding a lowercase letter. So for example, if you are citing Tushar's work, which has been published in Tushar Pawar's work, which has been published in 2019 and 2020. So it should be 2019 and 2019. Both, there are two works that got published by the same author in the same year. So one you can write as Pawar 2019A, Another can be written as Pava 2019B. Then this is the style. I will not go into the details because there are some important things, and maybe then I will finish. Tushar, is it visible? Tushar, is the slide visible?
Yes.
I just want to show them something. Just a minute. Okay. Just a minute. Tushar, just give me a minute. Now see, Tushar, there are various ways of citing reference. Is the screen? It's not visible. I'll
Share it again.
share it again. How to sharing options?
The screen is there, no?
Can you see the screen?
No.
No. I need to. This is,
See, in more, you can go share screen. There is
I'm
one.
just, yes, I got it. Now, can you see this? There are basically three types of citation methods. One is APA, which is, can you see this APA? Is it visible?
Yes.
So now see this APA. There is MLA also or Harvard also. I will not go into the details. I will talk about this APA and then I think we can finish. So APA, most of the social science journals, they would follow this American Psychological Association pattern of citing. So what are the core components of this? You have to write the author's name. Okay. Author surname first, followed by initials. Then you have to write the published date of that work in parentheses. Then you have to write a title of the article, location of the publisher, and then you have to write the URL, particularly DOI. Okay? So now see, so this is done in APA style. Now, how do you write in APA? So you have to write it on a new page. It has to be centered. You have to arrange the author names alphabetically by name of the first author or title of if the author is not known. Okay. So you have to sort the authors alphabetically. If there are multiple works by the same author, these are ordered by date, and if the dates are if the dates fall in the same year, they are ordered alphabetically by the title and are allocated ABC. Now see this one. In APA referencing, in the text you will cite like this: Mitchell 2017 states that, or you write a sentence and then at the end you write Mitchell, 2017. Okay, so this is the direct quote, this is a parenthetical quote. If there are two authors, you will write it in this manner if you are quoting them directly, or in the parenthesis like this. If more than 3, 4 or 5 authors are there, if they are 3, there is no problem, you can still write the names. But if there are more than 3, you will have to write it all. If there are 6 and more authors, only first author's surname followed by it all. If there is no author, you have to write the title of the source. Okay. Citing authors with multiple works from 1 year. So you can write, see, same year it is there, but we have given them small alphabets A and B. Citing multiple works in one parenthesis. You are citing many works of a single author. So if you are directly quoting it, it is like this. If you are quoting in the parenthesis, it is like this. If these works are by multiple authors, you will separate them by semicolon. Okay, you can cite a group also, you can cite a website also, you can cite a book also. When you have to cite a book, you have to write the author's surname, followed by a comma, followed by initial, year, title. It has to be italicized. You have to write the name of the editor. you have to give the publisher and from where it publishes. Publisher location first and then publisher. So you can see Mitchell, J.A., Thompson M, and Coin RP 2017. They published a book, A Guide to Citation. This book was published from London, England, and the name of the publisher was My Publisher. So this is how you do it. This is how you cite an edited book. Author surname, initials, editor's name, editor or editor's name, year, italicized title, name of the editor, place of the publisher. And this is how you cite a book chapter. Okay, so this is, you can also cite e-book in APA format. Author surname, initials, editions, year, title. You have to give the URL. You can also cite a journal article in print, which is yet to get published, or it is online first. So nowadays, since most of the publications are coming in the form of electronic publications, there are no hard copies, there is no printing. So what is the advantage? That suppose the volume is going to be published after 2 months, but the paper is already accepted, you can give a chance for authors to read. So paper will be published online on, say, after 2 months, but it is already available in the online portal 2 months before. So those papers, we call them as papers in print, or papers which have been published online first. So these articles can also be cited in this manner. And for online articles or articles which are in print, you have to give a digital object identifier number. Digital object identifier number is a string of letters or a string of numbers that is a permanent ID of any article which is published as an e-article, e-print. So it is attached to a particular article. This is a unique ID. No two articles can have a similar DOI. Now, this is APA. Similarly, you have MLA also. Okay, you can go into the MLA also. I will not go into the detail. This is Modern Language Association. I have given you the links, you can explore. Then there is a Harvard style that also you can follow. I just want to show you, is this site visible? Tushar?
Yes.
So this is one social science journal, and the title of the journal is, I think, journal is the Journal of Social Sciences, I think, and they follow APA style of referencing, because Tushar told me that most of the fellows will be from social science. So I brought this thing, and this is a Journal of Social Sciences, and it follows APA style, which I showed you. So this is what I wanted to share with you. And so there are various ways of referencing. There are various ways of referencing, and I think so this is the last thing which I wanted to tell you. So Tushar, I think I am done. Tushar?
Yes, Manoj.
So Tushar, I am done. If they have any questions, they can ask me. And before I rest my presentation, I just want to make one submission. And it is that writing reports and writing research articles, you may have n number of speakers, n number of books, n number of tutorials which will tell you how to write, but unless and until you start writing by yourself, you won't be able to understand these things. So one has to start practicing these principles, then only we can understand. So Tushar, I am done. Over to you.
Okay, dear participants, if you have any questions, platform is open for question answer session. Dear participants,
I think they will have questions when they start writing by themselves.
Yes.
So is it compulsory to give the references in alphabetical order or as per the citations?
Madam, that depends on which style you are following. So I told you APA, American Psychological Association. For them, you have to cite them. You can cite them anyway, but when you make a references heading, then you have to mention them alphabetically. But if you are using a numerical method of citation, there you have to just give a number. For example, Manoj Lekhak says like this, you have given parenthesis 1. Now this 1 will come in the reference as 1 and then you will write. So Manoj Lekhak, it starts with L. So it is not alphabetical. It is just coming from surname, number. So when you are using a numerical method of citation, alphabetical order is not required. When you are not using numerical method and you are using a specific method like Harvard, MLA or APA, then you have to go by that. Nowadays, every journal, whether it is a social science journal or a scientific journal, under the heading instructions for authors, author guidelines, they would tell you that what is the pattern they require in their article. So you have to adopt that.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Any other question?
Tushar, I think they must be tired. It was a marathon lecture,
Yes.
so they must be tired.
So I feel there is no questions. So we'll be concluding this session. Okay. On behalf of organizing committee of ICSSR funded research methodology workshop, I extend my gratitude to Dr. Manoj for accepting the invitation and delivering this session on report writing and references. I hope, Manoj, participants will be gaining from this session that their report should be expressive, not impressive, and they will follow this your quote while writing report, and your presentation, how to report writing, that writing of selecting title and how title should be precise, then writing objectives, then writing the hypothesis and the result and discussion tables in a report formatting manner. They will follow this technique while they prepare their reports, and I hope they may go for applying research proposal for various agencies, and while preparing the report they may use your expertise in their research work.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
I thank the principal and Dr. Tushar, a friend, who has given me this opportunity to share my views on this topic with you. I thank Tushar, you as well as the entire college. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manoj. I request all the participants. I have shared with you feedback form for this session. Now we will join on the same link for the validatory function. I want 4 participants.
Very good evening, one and all. Hello, am I audible, Tushar sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Tushar sir. Very good evening, one and all. जैसा कि हर एक अच्छी चीज का कभी ना कभी अंत होता है, so likewise we have come to the concluding part of our 10 days virtual research methodology workshop sponsored by ICSSR. I hope you people have enjoyed a lot in those 10 days. You people have learned a lot. So now, first of all, I would like to request our principal, our backbone, Dr. Eknath Zarikar sir, to officially give the welcome address. Now, Eknath sir. Hello, Eknath sir, over to you.
Good evening, Kindari madam. Hello. Kindari madam, are you there? Hello.
Sir, I'm here only.
Okay.
I join
Actually,
immediately.
Okay. So, very good evening to one and all. And very good evening, Kindari madam. Dear friends, today we are at the end of this 10 days research methodology workshop organized by Mahatma Knight Degree College of Arts and Commerce, sponsored by ICSSR. In these 10 days, we all are gained a lot of knowledge related to research methodology, tools, methods, etc. All our resource persons were excellent and explained all their topics, concept very well. We, as a teacher, as a researcher, it is our responsibility to learn the research methodology, its different aspects. And, hello, sir.
Participants are requested to mute their mic.
Thank you. We, as a teacher, as a researcher, it is our responsibility to learn research methodology, its tools, importance, different techniques, and all other things, and pass it to on our newcomers, or we can say new generation, which will be a part of a research team. I congratulate all the participants for successfully completion of their 10 days research methodology workshop. This research methodology workshop may be useful for your CAS purpose or your PhD coursework. I congratulate our course co-director, Assistant Professor Tushar Pawar, for organizing and successfully conducting this 10 days research methodology workshop. I appreciate his efforts to make this research methodology workshop a grand success. I also congratulate and appreciate the whole team of Mahatma Knight Degree College of Arts and Commerce, who take sufficient care that this research methodology workshop will be a grand success. Now I welcome chief guest for today's research methodology workshop, CMA Dr. Kinnari Thakkar. And also I thank for accepting our invitation to be a part of our team. Thank you, madam. Over to you, Shukla, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Eknath Zarikar, sir. Now I request Dr. Anya Markande, madam, to introduce the chief guest for our valedictory function, Dr. Kinnari Thakkar. Over to you, Anya, madam.
Thank you, Shukla, sir. Good evening, one and all. It is my honor to introduce the chief guest for valedictory ceremony of ICSSR funded 10 days virtual research methodology workshop. CMA, Dr. Kinnari Thakkar Madam, Professor and Head of the Department of Commerce, University of Mumbai. Madam is a PhD, MBA in Finance, CMA and CS. She has a teaching experience of 23 years and her area of specialization is finance and accountancy. She was the principal of SIS College of Commerce and Economics, Mumbai. Madam is a recognized PhD guide in accountancy in University of Mumbai. 5 students have been awarded with PhD degree and 11 students have been awarded with MPhil degree. And at present, 5 research scholars are registered for PhD under her guidance. Madam has successfully completed 2 research projects funded by ICSSR, 2 research projects funded by University of Mumbai. She has published 55 research papers in various national and international journals and 72 research papers presented at international and national conferences and seminars. Madam has co-authored 6 books in the subject of accountancy and finance. 2 patents are granted and 4 are published in her name. Her contribution in the field of teaching and research has been recognized with Eminent Academic Leader Award 2021 from I2OR, a registered Eminent Academic Leader Award 2021 from I2OR, a registered NMME with Ministry of MSME, Government of India. She is a proud recipient of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award for Teaching Excellence 2018. She is a recipient of Shiksha Ratna Puraskar for meritorious performance in teaching. Kinnari Madam, we the team MNDC are glad to have you as a chief guest for our valedictory ceremony of our 10 days research methodology workshop. Thank you so much. Shukla sir, over to you.
Thank you, Anya madam. So इतने अच्छे introduction के बाद now I request the chief guest for the evening, Professor Dr. Kinnari Thakkar, to address the gathering. Over to you, Kinnari madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam, for the wonderful introduction. A very good evening to each one of you and a warm welcome for this valedictory session. Friends, today I know that you have been discussing, and listening a lot of things about research during this 10 days program. But today also I feel at the end, there are some important things, some important points and some important tips, which I like to share with you because research is an ongoing process. There is no end. From whoever and how much ever you learn, you listen to various resource persons, you learn so many things. So today I'll share some few important ideas of research which I have gained through experience and through guiding my research students. Because while doing research, it's not only just doing it, it's not just a process, it's a mindset, it's a mentality which one should understand when you take PhD students and when you guide research students. And students also should understand that it's not always that you need to follow a thumb rule. There's no such thumb rule, but there are so many steps and procedures one needs to follow. Sometimes there is a need to do something different, to do something out of the box, or to do something in an area which will get you recognition. In our university, research is also counted through number of pages. At times you've seen 450 pages. Someone will tell you that compulsory minimum you should have 300 plus pages. It is not like that. If your work is very good, remember the number of pages does not matter. What new innovative idea you have generated, what new innovative points you have put forth in your research work, that stands important, and that is what which will get you recognition. Nowadays, in addition to your research degree, your minor major research projects which you are planning to undertake, patents also have its equal importance. So what is patent again? Patent is again doing something more innovative, and it's an extension, another form of research. It's another form of innovation which you are planning or intending to do. So that makes you, it sets you apart from all your colleagues and all your peer group, where you are with whom you are interacting on a regular basis and doing your research work. So this 10 days, I'm sure that you have been interacting a lot with your resource person as well as with other colleagues in between. If there is a question answer sessions or the interactive sessions, if you would have had during the last 10 days, you would have definitely learned so many things. But let me tell you something about the process of the research. The success of any program is measured by its ability to deliver it in its intention. And I'm sure that this program, the best measure of this program's success will be the number of participants, which the interaction which you all have had amongst yourself, the active participation and the active respondents which you have seen, which you have witnessed during the last 10 days. So I'm sure that the program in itself have been a very successful program. But something new which one should try to do, and one should try to actually eternalize in your mind in while doing research, I like to discuss something upon that, which is a part of research process. So when you start your research work, everybody understands, accepts, and experience that review of literature is one of the most important phase, one of the most important step in your research work. So whenever you are writing review of literature, certain important tips I like to share with you. That what is review of literature? At times there is a confusion that which types of books and which types of articles we should refer, which type of articles should be avoided, should be kept apart. I mean, should not be focused on much while writing. So here's an important suggestion for you, that whenever you are doing any kind of review of literature, you have to ensure that there are 4 different types. And you have to also see that which type of review of literature you are trying to do. The first is a narrative type of review of literature. So you should divide the entire work which you have collection of work into 4 different categories. One is narrative. What you are doing is you are critically thinking, you are analyzing, and you are recognizing the inconsistencies which are appearing in the existing research work which has been done. So narrative type of research will enable you to identify and to at least fathom, to get an idea of what and how there is a research gap. So first type of research review of literature in your research is a narrative review of type of review of literature. Then there is a systematic review of literature. Well, what do you mean by that? Systematic review of literature means you chronologically put all your work as it has appeared in consequence, in chronology, that it started with this and it has gained evolved in a systematically way. So while studying the evolution of a particular research problem, there is a possibility of you able to identify a research gap. The first step, which I said, is review of literature. Why review of literature? Because without identifying the research gap, your entire research process, research study, your work will be a futile exercise. So research gap is the highlight of your research work. So for identifying that, you need to do review of literature. And review of literature in a systematic way, if you proceed doing it in a systematic way, only then you can get ideas. So what you have to do, you chronologically put forth the points which you have, which you read or which you have understood from previous works which has been done in the work which has been done in the past. You systematically, in a chronological format, you put forth, write it, and then you identify that these are areas where improvement is possible, and try to fill up those areas. So that can be one important point where your research gap can be identified. The third type of review of literature which you can do is argumentative. When you read, you can just read the work of others. Either you can be for it or against it. So either it can support the work or it can contradict the work. So this way of analyzing the previous works will also help you. In fact, if you dig deeper, it will enable you, and in the critical thinking which you are mindset with which you are reading, you can come across a research gap. And the fourth type of review of literature is integration of all the three. You do narrative research, you do systematic research, you do argumentative research, integrate all the different types, and then a collection of all the work which you have consulted, either related to your area, sometimes not related to your area. It is not always necessary that you do something which is related to your area. Indirectly, if it is related to your area, that also work you can review. Because at times, certain work which has been done in one area, you can implement that in other areas as well. So that also can be a source from which you can get it's like it ignite ideas, and with the ignition of ideas you can get what is your research gap. So friends, remember, research gap is the focus point of your research work, and for that, review of literature is a bedrock. So you have to do it in a very systematic method. And the another phase which you have to focus on is research methodology. Now again, research methodology, while you start writing research methodology, you completed your research work, you completed your review of literature, you will start writing. While writing, 4 points you have to keep in mind. This is an academic writing, and it is not writing to excite somebody, and have, keep the develop kind of negative thoughts in somebody's mind. It's not a writing which is like a newspaper story writing or a blog writing where you don't have, where you have a lot of proof when you, which is scientifically proven by using statistical techniques. So this is a very systematic and academic writing, and therefore you should avoid 4 types of statements while writing your review of literature or any other chapter, including the suggestions and including your findings, recommendations, conclusions, everything. But basically, when you are reviewing other work, you should ensure that you should avoid writing which is paradox. It is completely contradicting the other studies. You should avoid sarcasm. Do not be very sarcastic when you are writing your research work. You may agree to disagree with the person, but a very polite and a sober, soft language, you have to mention that these are the work of other researchers. But in my opinion, or in the present study, it was found that this variable stands more important and it stands apart than the other, and therefore though it contradicts the previous study, but we can prove it with the help of systematic statistical use of statistical tools. So there are so many research work which you feel is not is contradicting your research, the conclusions or your findings, but you have to put it in a very systematic way. Sarcasm you should avoid. Oxymoron also you should avoid. Oxymoron is also using a type of words which is contradictory all the time. Pleonasm you should avoid. Pleonasm means what? Pleonasm means you are unnecessarily emphasizing on the word, you are using repetitive words in the statement. And you should avoid tautology. Tautology also, you are a pleonasm is you are emphasizing over exaggerating some state words or some meaning. So that is pleonasm. And tautology is you are using different words for the same thing. Now, for example, if I tell you that dot 6 p.m. in the evening, we will conclude this session. So when I say 6 p.m., everybody automatically will understand it is evening. So, I don't have to emphasize and overemphasize that 6 p.m. in the evening, I'm going to conclude the session. So this is some important tips which you should keep in mind when you are writing review of literature. Like pleonasm, as I said, you are overemphasizing using 2-3 different words for the same, to convey the same meaning again and again. So that kind of writing is not an academic writing, is not meant for the purpose. Now, why I'm telling you this, in our research, which is which is for PhD or major and minor research purpose, this 4 points which I mentioned, you must have not observed it very frequently. But if the time you start publishing your paper in ABDC journals or, Scopus and Web of Science, when we have sent papers there, minute comma observation has been observed and reviewed by the reviewers, and it has been sent back that this line, this statement does not go well with the flow, and you should maybe reframe it again and send back the paper. Imagine, for one statement the papers have have come back, and we have to make in a way systematic way in the expectation which is as per their journals, and then we have to rewrite and send it again to the journal. So these are the tips which are useful for you when you are going for publication of your research work in a very high quality journals. So these tips which I'm trying to give you is for that purpose. Once your this research, so that's what, in the beginning when you start, you ensure that you are doing it very systematically, rather than learning it with bad experiences or learning it with taking effort, putting more time and efforts later on. Once in the beginning only, if somebody tries to explain it to you about the process, I think that is the best time now, in this 10 days workshop which you have done, which you have you registered and you had participated in. So during this time only, it is very important to learn basic minute details of how the research work is to be undertaken. Another important and the last important point which I like to mention here is you should understand the research philosophy. Normally, friends, I'll ask you, if you have framed your research proposal, and in that you must have written objectives. You must have written objectives like to study the consumer's perception, etc., to analyze, to compare, to identify the difference between, to study the correlationship. So when you are using these words like to study, to identify, to compare, technically all these statements which is framed are based on the research philosophy. So now, if you have time and if you are very curious about systematic implementation of your research idea or research work, you can use a search engine and try to find out what do you mean by research philosophy. All these objectives which are framed are not framed just randomly to study, to identify, etc. It has to be backed by the research philosophy. Again, for important journals, when you are going for publication, or at times in certain universities also, where I've been for external referee for the viva was of the research students, they've been always asked that what is the research philosophy of of this entire work which you have try to undertake. So what is a philosophy? Okay, actually, there can be a full again session of research philosophy, but I can just leave you with some thoughts and some tips which you can just later on identify and read on your own. So research philosophy means on what basis the entire research work is planned to be implemented. Your research philosophy can or your research assumptions can be your positive post positivism, or it can be reductism. It can be the other assumptions can be deductive research, inductive research, abductive research. So what is the research philosophy which you have adopted? That if you decide, only then you can frame objective. Like if I say to study, it is based on this research philosophy. I cannot say just randomly that I'm going to study this. I'm going to understand the work which has been the background of my research um, title. If I say I want to do understand the financial inclusion, the study of financial inclusion, so I say first research objective is that I will say to understand the concepts or the meaning of financial inclusion. So when you write this statement, it is not just a random statement. It has to be backed by the philosophy. Whenever next time, if we have some more time slot or some other platform through which we can discuss research philosophy, I think we can take some more 35 to 40 minutes only based on what is a research philosophy, and for each philosophy, how the statements of objectives can be written, and how these objectives can be again converted parallelly, and that objectives can be translated into the research hypothesis, and then subsequently the tools which can be used. So research philosophy, friends, please remember, read sometimes whenever you have opportunity, and connect that research philosophy with your research objectives. Once your beginning is with a very clear mindset, then the flow of your research work, entire process will go very smoothly. If you are confused in the beginning, if you don't understand that why I have written, what is my research gap, why I am doing this entire exercise just because of study of my research degree and promotion. Okay, even if you're doing for research degree and promotion, even then you have to know the concept of this work which you are doing. You have to know, you should have a basic fundamental idea of why your entire work has been 3 years and 4 years which you are putting in your efforts. What will be the outcome of your efforts which you are putting in? So beginning, a good beginning is an indication of a very smooth work process of the work which you are planning to undertake. So that's why I'll just advise you a very small piece of advice, that whenever you start your research work, you read certain important books referred by good authors related to research methodology. Give 15 days time only devoted for reading research methodology. Once that is clear, from that you identify various research philosophies which has been done, and if you know research philosophy and gap, definitely your entire research work will be your clarity, your concept will be very clear, and you'll be very smoothly able to complete your research work. So I think with this, I wish to congratulate each one of you for giving time for your own self in participating by participating in this 10 days research methodology workshop. And I actually thank the organizers for allowing me to share my experiences with the budding researchers, the enthusiastic researchers, and share my views and thoughts with them. So thank you, Eknath sir, and wish you all the
Hello. Thank you, Kinnari madam. So, ma'am, you have given a very deep insight about the review of literature, and I definitely hope it will help our participants. Now, I request Assistant Professor Tushar Pawar sir to briefly summarize 10 days of our research methodology workshop. Over to you, Tushar sir.
Thank you, Shukla sir. Our college has organized this ICSSR funded 10 days research methodology workshop for teachers and research scholars with the following objectives: to enable the participants to define their research problems, develop an approach to research problems, and select suitable research design; to sensitize participants on the ethical aspects of social and behavioral research as well as plagiarism software; familiarize the participants on the prerequisite in the field work and collection of quantitative and qualitative data and its methods; to provide expertise in statistical techniques and interpretation of statistical data; to impart capabilities for formulation and testing of hypotheses based on the nature of research. To fulfill these objectives, topics for sessions were designed and smoothly conducted during these sessions by our eminent resource person. First day of our research methodology workshop was resource person was Dr. Archana Prabhudesai. She emphasized on basic concept of research methodology, how to make hypothesis, how to set objectives of research, and how to design research. The second day of the workshop, sessions were conducted by Dr. Yogita Sanas. She explained various field research methods like case study, ethnography study, qualitative interviews, direct observation, participants' observation. To explain the field research methods, she gave various examples. Further, she explained the primary data and secondary data. In addition to this, she explained various data collection techniques. In the second session, she talked about basic statistical technique used in the research field. She explains various types, variable types, different sampling techniques, graphical representation, scatter plot, interferences analysis, etc. And at the end, she explained some statistical tools through Excel. Day 3 of our workshop was conducted by Dr. Suraj Sharma. He started his analysis with the introduction of features of quantitative data and how it differs from qualitative data. He explained various qualitative data methods like content analysis, narrative analysis, discourse analysis, thematic analysis, etc. In the analysis of qualitative data, he elaborated the use of process of coding and its types. The analytical tools like descriptive analysis and interface analysis was explained by Dr. Suraj. Second session, Dr. Sharma was discussed about questionnaire pattern. He explained the accuracy and validity of questionnaire is very, very important steps in research. He explained the importance of reliability and consistency of data and method used in the test distinct with the statistical tools. Method like Cohen, Kappa, Losch's validity ratio was explained by Dr. Suraj. On the fourth day of our workshop, resource person was Dr. Vilas Gaikar. He discussed about various scientific methods available in the research field and role of ethics in doing research. Dr. Gaikar is his person over increasing number of research paper while deteriorating the quality of research. He said researchers should be very much responsible while collecting personal information during the survey. A researcher should be unbiased and honest in their approach. He told that one must understand that every individual, group, institution must be treated with dignity in his research and respect other culture as well. Researchers must publish plagiarism-free research. Publication ethics are very important and it should be responsibility of the researchers to follow the publication ethics. He also talked about research is influenced by human issues that are unrelated to research topic. He said that research should be focused on a problem solving over creating issues. On the 5th day of our workshop, resource person was Dr. Shilpa Dev. He started her session with qualitative research, with the stating meaning, definition, and significance, and the methods of qualitative analysis. With the use of several examples, she explained how qualitative research gives an added angle or new dimension to the quantitative techniques adopted by the researchers. She also taken about triangulation methods and discussed case studies methods by forming groups. On the 6th day of the workshop, resource person was Dr. S.B. Yadav. Topic was electronic resource review of literature, reference management tool, and plagiarism checking. We talked about how we can get electronic references and how to cite them in our paper and reports. Also, he talked about APA, Chicago, and MLA style of references writing. He also gave an insight of how plagiarism is important as per the UGC norms, which type of plagiarism softwares are available in the market for plagiarism checking. Session on 7th day was conducted by Dr. Seema Rao. The topic of ethics in academic writing and structure, beginning by explaining its meaning, definition, significance, and methods. With the use of several examples, she explained how ethics in academic writing and structure is important component of research. Must be adhered as per the rules and regulation. Dr. Seema Rawat shared picture of pages of her own PhD thesis to explain every component of the academic writing. Very clearly, she distinguished between academic writing for research paper and thesis writing. On the 8th day, session was conducted by Dr. Meenakshi Guru on the topic of elements of writing, research proposal, and publication process. She started her session with explaining meaning of research, definition, significance, and methods. With the use of several examples, she explained the elements of writing, research proposal writing, and publication process. A session covered data dimensions, method of dissemination, key point of writing, preparation of dissemination, component of research articles, data analysis, and presentation. Sessions on 9th day was conducted by Dr. Satyanarayan Kote sir on quantitative research. He started his session with asking questions on qualitative and quantitative techniques. He explained about the application and importance of quantitative techniques in research and illustrated with few examples of application of statistical tools in research. Today, the 10th day, session was conducted by Dr. Manoj Lekhak on referencing and writing of research report, how to write abstract, methods, procedures, and way you can express them in your report. He also talked about informational report, analytical report, and perusal report. He also expressed about you should be very much precise while framing your title for the research work, and how you can convince funding agency whether your research work is useful to the society and its relevance. Said about methods of research like a cooked book. We also talked about results and methods to be written in a past tense. So this is about our summary of 10 days research methodology workshop. I hope all the participants enjoyed this journey with us, and I hope you get much more knowledge from these sessions. Thank you, all the participants. Over to you, Shuklas.
Thank you, Tushar sir. Now I request few participants. Mr. Adil, will you be able to share your experience? Hello?
Hello, am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, Adil. Kindly switch on your mic. Yeah.
Yes. So good evening, everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank the Mahatma Knight Degree College for basically for the smooth sessions we have had for these 10 days. And I would also like to thank the ICSSR group for basically sponsoring this session, this research methodology workshop. One thing I always have thought as a student and as a teacher, we always are a bit worried whenever we are talking about research methodology. It's a nightmare. I think everyone has faced that. Whenever we talk about research methodology, everyone thinks, "Arey, there are a lot of statistical parts we have to cover, a lot of analytical part, a lot of research work is there." Nowadays, most of my students, basically, I tell them, many of my students ask me, "Sir, why do we why do we need to do research methodology? What is the use, sir? Why is mathematics being involved, sir, whenever we are studying a field known as psychology, where you're studying the mind?" But what I tell them, that's always we are telling each and every one whenever I'm teaching them, is that it's a social science which we are learning right now. And if we as social scientists, if we are not doing research, then who will do researches in different fields? It's not just psychology, it's different fields like your philosophy, sociology, all different various fields are there. History is there. These are all the fields. These are social sciences field where we have to basically do research about. And I thank all the resource persons. Basically, they have explained the concepts so very well to us. I've enjoyed one session particularly, that was Dr. Shilpa Dev's ma'am, that is qualitative research, because still we are very less aware of how to basically do a qualitative research. Still, that knowledge is not there in most of us. That technical background which we should have for qualitative research. Quantitative research, so we can be able to do, but qualitative research, because it is descriptive in nature, and to understand all the theoretical aspect and certain key terminologies like positivism, post-positivism, and epistemology, and ontology. These are certain technical languages and technical words which are still very difficult to understand. And whenever I'm explaining it to my student as well, like, they get confused. Okay, so what is this basically? What do these all definitions mean? So I tell them these are basically, you need to understand what is positivism, what is post-positivism, why were these two fields there, what does post-positivism tell you about. So this is basically, that is why that session was very interesting for me, because I also came to know many different things altogether. Even other resource persons were explaining all the content very well, but that was one of the content which I liked a lot, because qualitative research, still there are not many books. There are books for those for qualitative research, but the thing is that content is not given in a very lucid language. I think everyone knows that, is that content is always given in too many jargon. Jargons are one thing which a normal person or a layman won't be able to understand. Like, if you tell him and you ask him that read this article and explain what you have understood, he won't be able to understand. So as a teacher, basically, we also now have to make sure that we try to compile all these notes, and we try to analyze it. We try to use narrative analysis, narrative inquiry, and prepare our own notes for our own students, so that the technical languages, the research methodology, that subject will become easier for them to understand it. And I think all of us have now understood that just by studying the theoretical part, we won't be able to understand research methodology. We will have to do it practically. That practical part should be there. We have to bring it. When will we bring all this? When we are doing certain researches in a particular field, for example, economics, or today's resource person who was from botany. We have to do all this. It's required, because, and once we are not doing research, we won't be able to understand what is research methodology. Because this subject, basically, you require a lot of revision. You have to revise it again and again. You have to understand the statistics. That is why we really need research methodology in all our social sciences. Because if we are not going to do research, we social science people, then who is going to do? Who is going to find out new evidences about different things? So that is what I would like to conclude in today's just my reflection of what basically this has given to me. And I think all of you might agree with me that it is a continuous process. Our I think Prabhu Desai ma'am had explained it to us in the first session itself, that research is a continuous process. It is not going to stop. There's no end point to it. That research will be done by someone else as well, and someone else, and someone else, and so on. New evidences will be found out later on in the previous researches, next researches. So that is what research methodology all is about. And I thank each and everyone. Tushar sir, mostly sir, he has conducted and kept the session very technically, and all like the coordinators have helped in the smooth conduct of these sessions. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Adil. Now I request Reet to share her experience. Reet?
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay. A very good evening to one and all. Myself, Professor Reet Tule, currently working as the head of the department BMS, Ramshet Thakur College, Kharghar, and also a PhD student of Illes College of Arts, Commerce and Science, New Panvel. First of all, I would like to thank Mahatma Education Society's Mahatma Knight Degree College of Arts and Commerce for organizing this ICSSR funded 10 days virtual research methodology workshop. This workshop has really given a wonderful experience to all the participants, and especially to me, being a research scholar. As this workshop has touched all the major research, design, field research, and observation, what a case study is about, different standardization of tools, then the qualitative and quantitative techniques, and much more. All the resource persons who were invited were really fantastic. They're very excellent, as they all have imparted their knowledge in a very layman's language. And especially, as Adil sir has also mentioned, Dr. Shilpa Dev ma'am, who has involved all the participants in the exercises through her interactive session. So instead of having a one-way communication, she has involved all the participants and made that session a two-way communication process. Team MNDC, hoping for more such conferences, workshops in the near future. So with this, I would like to conclude my reflection by mentioning that this workshop has really helped all the young researchers, research scholars, and definitely the faculty to ignite and encourage the culture of research among the students. Once again, I would like to thank Principal Dr. Eknath Zarekar sir, who is also my proud PhD guide. Thank you, Dr. Lata Krishnan ma'am, Tushar sir, Harsh Shukla sir, and Anaya ma'am for the smooth coordination throughout the session. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Reet madam. Now I request Meera madam to share her experience. Meera madam. Hello, yeah, Meera madam, you're not audible. Hello, Meera madam. Hello, you're
Sir.
not madam. Yeah. No, ma'am. Some issue with the mic.
Audible now?
Yes, madam. Yes, yes.
Hello? Am I audible now?
Yes, madam. Yes. Yes, you're audible, madam, now.
Yes. So good evening, everyone. I'm Meera Ranjit, Assistant Lecturer from Mahatma Junior College of Education, as well as I am a research scholar from Department of Geography, Mumbai University. So first of all, I thank the organizer of this 10 days research program, Mahatma 9 Degree College, Principal Dr. Eknath sir, and the organizer Tushar sir, as well as other crew members. And also ICSSR for conducting such a wonderful workshop for the research scholars like us. And this 10 days research methodology workshop really was an eye-opener for all the PhD scholars. And as we get a lot of insights about various areas of research, starting from the meaning and aspects of research, and from the various the literature reviews, how to write the literature reviews about the research designs, about what is field research, and about the different standardization of tools, and so many areas were connected. And then really, as a researcher, I feel that if this kind of research should have been done like before we write the proposals, so it would be very much useful for us. Then we get a we get a framework of how to do that. But unfortunately, we couldn't get that time when we were writing the research proposal. But still, we feel that this kind of this workshop will really help all the scholars to get a lot of ideas about the research and different areas. And all the speakers, all the eminent speakers or resource persons, they gave their best information about their areas, and it was very simple and it was very easy to understand. And as my research and what I am carrying is about the qualitative as well as the quantitative, both. It's a mixed method. So for me, I focus mainly on those areas where I have to learn more about those qualitative and quantitative aspects. So almost all the areas of this research, I won't say that like it has covered every part of it, but still this 10 days, whatever maximum information can be given, that is being done by this ICSSR. And it was a really wonderful workshop for all of us. And definitely we want like this more workshops wherein we will get a lot of other informations about this. So we are expecting that in future also for such type of workshop. So once again, I thank all the organizers for this, and I wish all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Meera madam. Now I request Sheila madam and followed by Anupa madam. First, Sheila madam, please share your experience. Hello, Sheila madam, are you there? Hello, Sheila madam. Okay, then Anupa madam, are you there?
Yes, sir. Is it audible?
Yes, madam.
Good evening to everyone. I am Anupa Mistry. I am from Bharat University. Right now I am doing a PhD scholar. I am. Thank you to Mahatma 9 Degree College of Arts and Commerce to conduct such a great workshop funded by ICSSR. This 10 days workshop is really helpful for me because I am new in research field, and this will really helpful for my future also. And lots of things I got to in this workshop. And lots of research persons has given lots of in-depth knowledge in research field, and this will be really helpful in future. So thank you to everyone. Thank you, sir.
Pawar sir, I am here, sir.
Hello, yeah, Sheila madam, please.
Yes, I was here, sir. Just the mic was off, that was I couldn't speak. Good evening, one and all. Respected dignitaries on the dais, and the organizer of the 10 days research methodology workshop. I would take an opportunity to thank everyone. I belong to the University of North Maharashtra University, and this workshop has really helped us in the research point of view, which will help us in coming with the quality research in our academic field, as well as for giving the students of postgraduate students and our research student also. This workshop will definitely help us. Specifically, I like the session of Kote sir yesterday, the way the statistical knowledge he has made in the research work, and where we were having the lacunas in this sense. So such type of sessions are to be learned by us for the research work. So this 10 days workshop was really very helpful for us, the research scholars, as well as for giving the knowledge to the students. So once again, I thank all the organizers for giving us such a wonderful 10-day workshop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheila madam. Yeah, ma'am, you can switch off your video. Yeah. Thank you, dear participants, for your encouraging words. Now I request Dr. Lata Krishnan madam, Associate Professor, Faculty Department of Commerce, Mahatma Naidu Degree College, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
I have the pleasant privilege of proposing the vote of thanks today. Let me begin with a few popular quotes. Research is seeing what everybody else has seen and thinking what nobody else has thought. Albert Zent Georgi. Research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. Zora Neale Hurston. Research is creating new knowledge. Neil Armstrong. In fact, the world needs more nerds. Ben Bernanke. It is with the aspiration of growing research and researchers that we, Mahatma Naidu Degree College of Arts and Commerce, Chembur, Mumbai, organized the ICSSR-funded 10 days virtual research methodology workshop for teachers and research scholars in social sciences. The workshop has concluded successfully due to the blessings and efforts of many and good teamwork. I begin by thanking the management of our college, Dr. K.M. Vasudevan Pillai, CEO and Chairman, Mahatma Education Society's Pillai Group of Institutions, Dr. Daphne Pillai, Secretary of Mahatma Education Society, and Chairperson, Management Board of Mahatma Education Society's Pillai Group of Institutions. Their blessings and good wishes are with us in all our endeavors. Our young and dynamic principal and director of this research methodology workshop, Dr. Eknath Zarekar, who initiated, guided, and supported the entire event. Thank you, Eknath sir, for providing us this valuable platform. Assistant Professor Tushar Pawar, the co-director of this workshop, for his tireless efforts and passion for organizing a workshop that champions research. For over 3 months, and now for the past 10 days, Tushar sir has been eating, sleeping, and breathing research methodology workshop. Kudos to you, Tushar sir, and thank you for a well-conducted workshop. An array of excellent researchers shared their expertise with us. At this juncture, I sincerely thank all the resource persons who have contributed wholeheartedly to have achieved the objective of this workshop. Professor Dr. Elizabeth Matthews, Dr. Mrs. Archana Kedar Prabhudesai, Dr. Yogita Sanas, Dr. Suraj Sharma, Dr. Vikas Gaikar, Dr. Shilpa Deo, Dr. S.B. Yadav, Dr. Seema Rawat, Dr. Minakshi Gurav, Dr. Satyanarayan Kote, Dr. Manoj Lekhak, and CMA Dr. Kinnari Thakkar. We thank the organizing committee of this research methodology workshop, Assistant Professor Dr. Anaya Markandeya, Assistant Professor Harsh Shukla, and Associate Professor Dr. Lata Krishnan. We thank the technical team, Mr. Wasim, our DTP section, Mr. Sanjay Singh and Jerry, and our non-teaching staff for their contribution. Thank you, dear participants, for your enthusiastic participation. We are sure you have gained and grown from this workshop. The certificate you will receive may be used as a component of PhD coursework and for career advancement scheme. We sincerely thank the Honorable Director, Dr. Smita Shukla of the ICSSR, Indian Council for Social Science Research, Western Region, for selecting our proposal and funding this 10 days virtual research methodology workshop. Thank you, ICSSR. You have helped us take research forward. Thank you. Over to you, Harsh.
Thank you, Lata madam. Now I request all the participants to switch on their videos. We would like to take a group screenshot. I request all the participants to switch on their videos. Okay, dear participants, you are requested to switch on your videos. Yes. Others also, you are requested to switch on your videos. Okay, so let me just take the screenshot. Thank you, dear participants. Now there is one announcement. We will send you your certificates within 10-15 days by post, and we have already taken your postal address. Okay. Now I request all the participants kindly. Sorry, I'm going to play the national anthem, so I request you to kindly stand for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank